All right, welcome back to week 3, module 1. This will be the last video for the day. What we're going to do now is actually go through the guided reading. I will read it out loud, and I will also read all of the multiple choice questions out loud. If that is not something you need me to do or want me to do, you can go ahead and turn me off right now. But if you would like me to do that and you want to follow along with me reading out loud, then this video is for you. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So this reading is from James Albert Romatho. It's titled The Holocaust, and it was on history.com. Came out in 2003. The word Holocaust, from the Greek words holos, meaning whole, and kostos, meaning burned, was historically used to describe a sacrificial offering burned on an altar. Since 1945, the word has taken on a new and horrible meaning: the mass murder of some 6 million European Jews, as well as millions of others, including Roma, Gypsies, and homosexuals, by the German Nazi regime during the Second World War. To the anti-Semitic Nazi leader Adolf Hitler, Jews were an inferior race, an alien threat to German racial purity and community. After years of Nazi rule in Germany, during which Germans were consistently persecuted, Hitler's final solution, now known as the Holocaust, came to fruition under the cover of World War, with mass killing centers constructed in the concentration camps of occupied Poland. So the first question, you're going to highlight the correct answer for both parts here. Based on the reading above, what was Hitler's final solution? A, it was a sacrificial religious offering that is burned on an altar. B, it was Hitler's plan to kill all Jewish people and other minority groups in Europe. C, it was Hitler's belief that Jewish people were inferior. Or D, it was Hitler's plan to win the Second World War. If you need to stop the video to answer that, please feel free and pause it. I'm going to go ahead and read part B. What piece of evidence best supports your answer to part A? The word Holocaust, from the Greek words holos and kostos, was historically used to describe a sacrificial offering burned on an altar. B, to the anti-Semitic Nazi leader Adolf Hitler, Jews were an inferior race. C, Hitler's final solution, now known as the Holocaust, came to fruition under the cover of World War. Or D, the mass murder of some 6 million European Jews, as well as millions of others, including Gypsies and homosexuals, by the German Nazi regime during the Second World War. So this would be a good time to also pause, make sure you have both parts of those answered before moving on to the next part of the reading. I'm going to go ahead and get started though. In September 1939, the German army occupied the western half of Poland, a nation bordering Germany to the east. German police soon forced tens of thousands of Polish Jews from their homes and into ghettos, giving their confiscated properties to ethnic Germans, meaning non-Jews outside of Germany who identified as Germans, Germans from the Reich, or Polish Gentiles. So a Gentile is a person who is not Jewish. Surrounded by high walls and barbed wire, the Jewish ghettos in Poland functioned like captive city-states, governed by Jewish councils. In addition to widespread unemployment, poverty, and hunger, overpopulation made the ghettos breeding grounds for disease such as typhus. For question number 2, you're going to need to write in your answer here. So the question is, what is one way Jewish people were oppressed in the ghettos? Here's your sentence stem. You're going to go ahead and type in there one way that they were oppressed. If you need time to answer, go ahead and pause the video and pick it back up when you're ready. Beginning in late 1941, the Germans began mass transports from the ghettos in Poland to the concentration camps, starting with those people viewed as the least useful, the sick, old and weak, and the very young. The mass gassings began at the camp of Belzec near Lublin on March 17, 1942. 5 more mass killing centers were built at camps in occupied Poland, including Klemno, Sobibor, Treblinka, Majegna, and the largest of all is Auschwitz-Birkenau. From 1942 to 1945, Jews were deported to the camps from all over Europe, including German-controlled territories, as well as those countries allied with Germany. The heaviest deportations took place during the summer and fall of 1942, when more than 300,000 people were deported from Warsaw Ghetto alone. Though the Nazis tried to keep operation of the camps secret, the scale of the killing made this virtually impossible. Eyewitnesses brought reports of Nazi atrocities in Poland to the Allied governments, who were harshly criticized after the war for their failure to respond or to publicize news of the mass slaughter. This lack of action was likely mostly due to the Allied focus on winning the war at hand, but was also a result of the general incomprehension with which news of the Holocaust was met and the denial and disbelief that such atrocities could be occurring on such a scale. Question number 3. Highlight the correct answer, so choosing one of these. Part A. What is the central idea of the final 2 paragraphs of the guided reading? A. The central idea of the final 2 paragraphs is that the Jewish ghettos caused the most damage to the Jewish people during the Holocaust. B. The central idea of the final 2 paragraphs is that the rest of the world denied the Holocaust took place because they too did not like Jewish people. C. The central idea of the final 2 paragraphs is that the concentration camps were far deadlier than the ghettos that came before them. Or D. The central idea of the final 2 paragraphs is that once Jewish prisoners were moved from ghettos to concentration camps, killing and torture began on a scale that the rest of the world could hardly believe. Part B. What evidence best supports your answer to Part A? So these are direct quotes from the reading. A. This lack of action was likely due to the Allied focus on winning the war at hand, but was also a result of the general incomprehension with which news of the Holocaust was met and the denial and disbelief that such atrocities could be occurring on such a scale. B. The heaviest deportations that took place during the summer and fall of 1942, when more than 300,000 people were deported from the Warsaw Ghetto alone. C. Though the Nazis tried to keep operation of camps secret, the scale of the killing made this virtually impossible. Or D. From 1942 to 1945, Jews were deported to the camps from all over Europe. When you are done with all parts, the counterclaim, and that guided reading, you have a mastery check on Edulastic. This mastery check, sorry it's broken up like that, but this mastery check is asking you, why might people think that the Holocaust is the worst event in human history? That's our essential question. You are going to create a claim and a counterclaim for that question. Okay? Here is a checklist to make sure you have completed everything you need for today. It is highlighted. For the rest of the week, it is everything that you also need to do. Big stop sign means you're done for the day. Till you see that stop sign, you're not done. But as soon as you see it, you got everything done, you did this checklist, go ahead and hit that turn in button, you're good to go.